Hey everyone, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here with a different type of video. It's going to be a little bit of a chattier one. And if you're ready, join me with a cup of coffee. And we're going to talk about my rules for pen and ink buying for 2025. So let's get started. So the reason I wanted to film this video, but also for me to reevaluate my rules for pen and ink buying, was inspired by Grace of Wildly Imaginable. She looked at her pen buying rules for 2025, and it made me think about my rules that I had set for myself early on in my fountain pen journey. So I had different rules in 2023. I don't know if I even had rules in 2024, because I feel like I was so strict in 2023 that in 2024 kind of went out the window. And then 2025 is really making me think, not necessarily just budget wise, but how I feel about my overall pen and ink and even stationery collection. So I really wanted to look at my rules for pen and ink buying. Now I know this is not going to resonate with everybody because some people find having rules, one, too restrictive, but two, just not in line with their mindset and how they like to collect or consume products. And that's absolutely okay. I wanted to get this down for myself, but also if anyone was struggling with how to not necessarily do a no buy, but really be more conscious of how they're spending and what they're buying and why they're buying, then this might be for you. So I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the rules that I have for pen and ink buying for 2025. I'll also link the video that I had, I think it was maybe last year or the year before, where I talked about the criteria that I have for when I buy pens. So the first thing I'm going to go over is the questions that I ask myself when I'm buying a pen. So I think this has actually changed over time, but when it comes to buying a pen, questions I ask myself when buying. Multitasking is really difficult right now. Buying a pen, I ask myself, number one, how do I feel when I look at the pen? Because when you see a pen on social media, or you see it in a YouTube video, or you see it on a retailer's website, there's a lot of motions you're going to go through in like the first few seconds of seeing that pen. And I have learned over time that those emotions can be very fleeting at the very beginning. So I need to give myself time to really think about how I feel when I look at that pen. So when I look at the pen, what type of feeling does it give me? Does it give me some euphoric feeling? Does it give me a feeling of, am I just wanting that pen because I'm bored? There's so many emotions and I can't write them all here, but I think it's really important to evaluate how I feel when I look at a pen, because the way I'm feeling in that moment can really determine whether or not it's something that I really actually want to buy. So one of the things that I also think about when I look at a pen is it a BAM? My friend Katie and I call it a BAM, and I'll explain more of that as well. But how do I feel when I look at the pen? And one of the things that I also tell myself, oh, that's supposed to be a star, is just because it is pretty or beautiful does not mean I have to own it. And I have really lived by this. Just because I see something beautiful on social media does not mean that I have to own it. I can appreciate its beauty by appreciating the maker, liking their post, or replying to a comment, and seeing over time how I feel about that. But just because it's pretty doesn't mean I have to own it. I can appreciate it from afar and not need to own it in my collection. I don't know if those two tie together, but I thought that they did. So how do I feel when I look at the pen? The second thing that I ask myself, is the price right? Meaning that, is it within my budget? Is it something that I can afford at this particular time? Do I feel comfortable spending that amount of money? And that answer is different for everyone. What works for me and what is affordable for me may be different for somebody else who has a larger budget and what they feel comfortable spending. So is the price right? This is a very subjective question. There is no right or wrong answer to this. And for me, when it comes to is the price right, I'm also looking at my budget and where these funds are coming from. So when it comes to my budget, I'm only using PayPal funds, and PayPal funds come from me selling a pen, come from affiliate funds from both Amazon affiliate and Gold Spot and Atlas Stationers, or according to Ali. All of those feed into my PayPal. So thank you for every single person who has ever used my affiliate links, because that helps to fund my pen and ink buying. But I'm only using those PayPal funds. I'm not dipping into credit card or anything like that. But there is a caveat to that. If I ever get to a vendor who doesn't take PayPal and they're only taking credit card over the website, I will use my credit card and then immediately transfer the PayPal funds to pay for that in my credit card. So that's one caveat to that. So only using PayPal funds, which is basically made up of affiliate credit. And for me, this actually helps me with both pen and ink buying, but also stationery buying as well. I'm trying to limit the amount of stickers and stationery that I'm buying and really focus on using what I have, because I went through a stage where stickers were just overflowing in my collection, and I felt overwhelmed by that, and I do not want to feel that overwhelm again. So I really want to keep my stickers manageable, just like my pens and my inks. So how do I feel when I look at the pen, and is the price right? And number 3, how would I feel not owning the pen? That's a really important question to ask yourself, because is this something that you are just feeling FOMO about? Or is this something that you really feel that you need to have in your collection? There were pens in my collection that probably have been let go of, that at first I thought I couldn't live without it, and then I had it in my collection, tried it, and then let go of. And I don't know if I could have made that decision before actually trying the pen, but now that I've tried the pen and let go of it, I'm okay with not owning it. So there's different processes to how you come up to the answer, or come up with the answer for that question. Sometimes you do need to try something to feel or to explore how that pen writes and how you feel about it. And then once you've tried that, then maybe you're okay with letting it go. But it's an important question to ask yourself. If you're okay with not owning that pen, then you don't necessarily need to buy it. But that question can also, the answer to that question can also change depending on time. So if, asking yourself that question right when you see something new versus giving yourself time to think about it. So I normally give myself 7 days. If in that 7 days you still feel the same as when you first saw it, which goes back to that question, how do I feel when I look at that pen? Then maybe it's something that you would consider buying. So again, how would I feel not owning the pen? I feel like I'm going round and round in circles, but this is a chatty video, so please forgive me. How do I feel not owning the pen? It also ties into how do I feel when I look at the pen? Just a different way of phrasing it. Then 4, do I still want it after X, and I say X amount of days? I give myself normally 7 days to think about whether or not I want to purchase a pen. I actually put it on my spreadsheet and put the date that I put that on my spreadsheet, and then come back to it. If I find myself thinking about it pretty regularly over those next 7 days, then I know that by the 7th day, I'll feel a little bit better about going ahead and purchasing it versus just making that purchase right at the same day spontaneously that I saw that post or that new pen. Now I know this won't always be the case for some pens, because some pens are limited, or you've only seen, for example, a maker who posts the preview of their drop the day before their drop, and then you have 24 hours, if that, to make a decision. So again, that ties into that question of how would I feel not owning a pen, and all of these questions really help me to decide whether or not a pen is worth it for me. And then I think 5, that question is, it's going to go back to how would I feel not owning the pen, but the question for me, and I'm going to go with this, is it a BAM? Now, this is just a personal question for me, but it's all of these things tied together. I'm going to move this up a bit here. So when it comes to a BAM, it's the look of the pen I absolutely love from first sight. And it's one that I cannot imagine not owning. The price is right, and I'm still thinking about it consistently over those X amount of days. So if the answer is basically, yes, I absolutely love how the pen looks, is the price right, how to feel, like all of those things combined together, is it a BAM? Then I will probably be buying that pen. So those are the questions that I ask myself when I'm buying a pen. But now when I go into my actual rules for pen and ink buying, sorry for spending 10 minutes on that part, but now I'm going into the actual rules for when I'm going to make a purchase. And really the first one is, waiting X amount of days. For me, it's 7 days before purchasing. And that's to ensure that whatever feeling I have when I first discovered this pen I want to buy is still the same. Time will normally tell you whether or not you still want that pen. And like I said before, this may not always apply in certain situations, and that's why thinking about all of those other questions is really important as well. And then 2, in terms of, like I said, my budget must use only affiliate or PayPal funds. And then the third one is create and stick to a wish list. In previous years, I had a big wish list of things that I wanted to try, whereas this year I don't actually have one. There's things that I do want to try, and I think I'm going to wait for pen shows to be able to do that. But being able to stick to a wish list, I think, will also help me curb any spontaneous spending. Saying that though, like I said, I don't have a huge wish list of things that I want to try, and that's also okay. I think I have to tell myself that even though I have these rules, there are areas where those rules can be bent just a little bit. But I think for me, having that wish list, 1, again, will help with the super spontaneous buying something new that I've never tried before. And 2, will also help focus my spending on what I really, really want. So all this to say, I have very simple rules for buying. I'm going to wait a certain amount of days before I purchase, use only affiliate or PayPal funds, and create and stick to a wish list. But I also want to say that even with these rules, there's going to be some times where we don't follow them, and I just want to also address that. There's, I guess, some caveats or things that I want to, I say caveat, plural. For me, no buys don't work for me, because I feel like if I say to myself, March is a no buy month, April is a no buy month, when you purposely set that limitation on yourself that you can't buy anything, some people, it's like when you tell yourself you cannot have cake and immediately you want it, right? So I know that that doesn't work for me. Instead, I'm setting these rules that still have wiggle room, because I do not want to feel guilty for my purchases. No guilt. Ooh, Lucy's moving around my lap here. Why do we feel guilty about our purchases? I know some people feel guilty because they've broken their rules, but we also have to look at why we place those rules in the first place. And for me, the rules are there to help me set a guideline, but I don't want them to feel like I'm doing something bad if I break them, for example. So the rules are there, like I said, for a guideline, but also to just help me focus on what I really want in my collection. So please don't feel guilty about spending unless you're actually spending outside of your means or doing something that is not in line with your own values. But no guilt, no guilt. And I don't even want to say break these rules, but if some of these rules get bent, basically, I don't ever want to feel guilt for that, because this hobby is supposed to make us happy. So yeah, no buys don't work for me, no guilt. But I've actually started something in my Hobonichi weeks where I'm keeping track of the days I am not spending any money on stationery. And it's not a no buy per se, but it's more like a how long can I last without buying anything. And so far I'm actually really enjoying it, you know, keeping track in my Hobonichi weeks. The days that I have highlighted are the days I have not purchased any type of stationery. And there are days there that, let's see, in February I had 4 stationery spend days, and I was okay with that. I was okay with that. There is some for stickers, or what did I buy on the 25th? Oh, more stickers. And I was okay with that, but I also find this a sustainable way of keeping track of my stationery spend, but also a good motivator for me. I get a bit of a dopamine hit when I mark that day of no stationery spend. So there's different ways that one can motivate themselves to do a low spend, but full on no buys or no spends for me just don't work. So there's different ways of being able to address this. Okay, so after all that, I'm looking at what I've written here, and my rules were very simple this year, because I think I'm also at this stage in my fountain pen collection where I know what I like, and it's not as much of an exploration anymore. It's more, if I see something that is beautiful, does it really fit into my collection? Do I really need it? Well, really, do we need any of our fountain pens? But is it something that I feel will fit in with my collection? So these may change again come 2026, but for right now, this is what is going to help guide me with purchasing in 2025. I don't want my collection to ever become overwhelming for me. And just because I have the funds to spend doesn't mean I have to spend it. Oh, I want to write that in the caveat as well, because it's a good one. You know, just because I have the funds, this is messy, does not mean I have to spend it, right? And another one that was really important that I got from Simone's Discord group, something about, okay, a sale or a discount on something you were not planning to buy does not really save you money. And I know there's a much more eloquent way of saying that, but think about it. Just because something is on sale doesn't mean you're saving money if it wasn't something that you were planning to buy anyway. Okay, now, I hope this is helpful. And I know basically today I just turned on the camera and just wanted to start chatting with you and write things down. So if you have any questions about any of these, or if you find that these line up with your mindset, let me know. Or if there's anything that you think you would add to these, let me know as well. All right, but that is it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and to subscribe. Oh, okay, I need my coffee and I need to stop talking. All right, thanks again and have yourselves a great day.